on? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, live from Scum Villainy Cantina. I am your host, Chelsea Schwartz, and at some point, Cliff will take the ring off and appear next to me. But he wants to be hidden right now for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. So yeah, welcome, guys. It's March 5th. It's Fat Tuesday. Happy Mardi Gras, everybody. Or Pancake Day, which I did not know that was another word for Mardi Gras until today. Interesting enough. If anyone knows the origin of that, feel free to put that in the chat room. It was also an election day here in West Hollywood. I voted. And otherwise, we're here to talk all the nerdy things Tolkien related. Justin's got a hood on all of a sudden.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Chelsea, did you know that we've been doing this show for over 7 years?
Only 7 years? Feels longer than that.
It started in earnest when the Blu-ray trilogy Lord of the Rings came out.
Okay. All right.
So this is before The Hobbit or everything like that. So it's pretty exciting. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I guess you'd like to maybe see me. It's great to see people in the chat room. I see Jackson is joined and Stuwati and
Do
Haruna.
we have Facebook on that chat as well?
Facebook is coming up shortly. Okay. We've got all this jiggery pokery of Facebook,
so many fancy
YouTube,
things.
Periscope, Twitter, and Twitch, all piped right to the screen in front of us.
That's exciting.
So we can watch the chat room and have a conversation with you. Because
and we want to talk to you, so talk to us. You know, if you have any questions, even what's your favorite color, we're here for you.
Chelsea, you've been on many podcasts.
Yes.
You've hosted podcasts. What is the difference between a podcast and this video show? Like, does it feel different?
It depends on what's happening with the podcast, because podcasts can be done live. I was like, and when they're live, there's really no difference because then you still can have audience interactions. But a lot of the time for our high voltage podcasts, especially, I'm just at home with a microphone, often talking to myself or one or two guests. And then it's very just like, I hope you're enjoying my thoughts out there, and please let me know after you listen.
You know, a lot of people have told us that they expect this to be a podcast, and they love podcasts, celebrities do, because they don't have to get dressed up. They can come in sweats, and no one's none the wiser because you're just having an audio conversation, and there's a little more effort required.
Right. I did put makeup on, whereas usually for my podcast, no makeup, hair's like looking like bedhead, whatnot,
Yeah. I appreciate the effort. And also, you just have the most amazing outfits. You do this thing with Disneyland where you dress in not as characters, not cosplay, but you dress in colors that remind you of a character.
Yeah, Disney bounding is the term for it. I was like,
bounding?
Bounding.
Like bound? Like bind your arms?
Which, oddly enough, Walt's wife's name was Lillian Bounds.
Yes. And
I was like, but the two were not related at all, but it was a magic coincidence that Disney Bounds became a thing. But yeah, so you take the color scheme of a character and, and you wear that to the park because costumes are not allowed, and it's a lot of fun. Today, I'm actually just more going for a hipster vibe of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
I love it. I love the red accent in the hair and the haircut and everything. Yes, Disney bounding. But is there any other fandom that bounds? Is there bounding at other places?
Disney bounding has now become a thing across fandoms. So where Harry Potter fans do Disney bounds, but they're not Disney bounds. They're just doing Slytherin colors or whatever that is. So it's still known as Disney bounding, but the concept has exploded into all the fandoms now.
So if someone wanted to go to Comic-Con and they're not really into cosplay, but they want to go to Comic-Con because they want to hang out with fans, or WonderCon, as is coming up in Anaheim, could they dress in the colors of Bilbo Baggins? And
absolutely. Absolutely.
You don't have to cosplay as Bilbo or an elf, but you can wear the colors inspired by it.
So a similar colored top and pants and wear a ring on your finger or around your neck and be Bilbo, What
would a Bilbo Baggins bounding consist
It also depends on what period of Bilbo you'd like to do. Like, if I was to do a Little Mermaid bound, I believe Ariel has 7 wardrobe changes in the film. Like, do I want to do Ariel on land or in sea? Which were sea, she'd be purple and green. I was like, so you'd have to pick which part of Bilbo you want to do, like the older Bilbo, the Bilbo
birthday
during
Bilbo.
The Hobbit, birthday Bilbo. Well, so you'd take
a green T-shirt,
exactly,
maybe some brown corduroys.
Yep.
And
have the ring around your neck. I was like, that's a nice accent, or like maybe some acorns or something. Just anything that would be like a fun little accent.
And maybe like an old smoker's hat, you know, like an old old man would wear.
There's Facebook now. It's in there.
Yeah, Facebook is in there.
Hi,
Caitlin
everybody.
Griffin says,
Hi,
I'm a
Helen
Hufflepuff for Hogwarts.
And for Ilvermorny, she's a Thunderbird, which I'm a Thunderbird for Ilvermorny as well, but I'm a Slytherin.
Aravandi says, nice thing about bounding is that you can wear fandom-inspired clothes anywhere.
Yes, that's the big thing. Like right now, I'm wearing fandom-inspired clothes. It's exciting. And it's become such a phenomenal thing worldwide. Oh my God, Cliff took the ring off. I told everybody that eventually you would take the ring off and be here.
Surprise! Hi. I got caught up in the Dumbo world premiere with Tim Burton's new live
so
action.
Excited.
Speaking of the Disney phenomenon expanding, it's not like Jon Favreau is down in downtown Los Angeles doing, the Jungle Book on green screen. This was Tim Burton, Michael Keaton reunited, and a huge cast of Colin Farrell, also from the Wizarding World. And here comes Dumbo, and I could not get to my own bloody show on time. If only I had an elephant who could fly, I would have flown here, because I left my Nimbus 2000 at home.
Or an eagle.
I'll take the Eagles.
The Eagles are never available.
Because Manway does not want to use them as the Middle-earth taxi service. Right? What? Why? Wait a minute.
We're switching
hey,
mics around.
Wait a minute. Is this working?
What?
Where are you going, Justin? Stay here with us. let the fun continue.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Pipsky. Hi,
Hello.
everybody in the chat.
Hello.
Yes, we can see your text.
Hello. What?
Hello.
Living in stereo.
Hello.
What's up? Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, Cliff.
Justin, come back.
We're
just talking about bounding in this fan experience.
So what was life like while the ring was on?
Oh, being in the twilight realm of Sauron is not my idea. It's like being trapped on a Carnival cruise liner without the buffets and without the entertainment. It's really
that does not sound fun at all.
Not my idea of fun.
Nope.
Hi, Chelsea Schwartz.
Hi.
Hey, what's up? Oh my gosh. Hello, love.
Hello.
How are you, babe? It's
I'm
nice
good.
to see you. And to hello, everybody out there in the universe, in the interwebs.
Yes.
Thank you.
And somebody did remind us that Lion King is coming out this summer as well, which is Jon Favreau back at his Jungle Book action. But the technology looks even loads better than Jungle Book.
Question for both of you.
Wow.
Is the Lion King live action or animation?
Live action.
Is it?
Because it's motion capture.
Is it? Motion capture would be animation. Spider-Verse was motion captured.
But there's plenty of other things like Golem that are motion captured as well.
But Lion King, is it really live action?
This is their version of live action.
But there's nothing
Disney's
real.
calling it live action.
There's nothing real in it.
Well, then the debate continues then.
Will it be nominated for an animated Oscar or picture
That's a fair
Oscar?
point. I think it won't get nominated for anything except special effects.
I mean, everybody
visual
knows
effects.
that Cinderella with Cate Blanchett, and then, of course, Sleeping Beauty.
Yes.
With that lovely Lana Del Rey version of that song at the end
Maleficent
credits.
that came out, and the Beauty and the Beast that came out.
Beauty and the Beast live action.
And currently in development,
With
live action Lady and the Tramp and a live action Sword in the Stone.
Our own, thank you, yes, see? And then a couple of years ago, Disney renews their intellectual property rights for the Chronicles of Prydain by British author Lloyd Alexander. All 5 books. Only the first book and a half of which became the animated The Black Cauldron in the early 80s.
We've talked about this, how we'd like Disney to eventually redo The Black Cauldron as they're redoing all the animations as live actions.
Yeah, so this is their live action. But Justin makes a very cogent point that it might be their live action, but minus a Mowgli, who is actually rooting the film as a live action photographed performer. Minus that, is The Lion King now purely in the realm of CG and nothing in it was shot? This is a good question.
It's a very good question. I know that they did shoot some landscapes live that are being mixed into the CGI. Does that count for live action then?
I would think so, yes.
Yeah.
I would think if it's not CG, any element. Well, the ultimate extreme of that is the Dark Crystal, which show that to any young person who's a pre-millennial or Generation Z. Show that film and tell them there are hardly any special effects in this, almost no special effects in it. It's all physical reality. These are real. These creatures are really there in real time. None of it is CG at all. That's the complete polar opposite of that. But this is going to be fascinating to me to think that with the success of Beauty and the Beast and the weird questions in the air about the Aladdin remake, the live action.
And they're also working on Mulan right now too.
Oh gosh, they are. Yes.
Yes.
I've seen the photos of the cast.
Yes.
Oh gosh, yes. Okay. I'm a Mulan fan. I'm a big-time
Me too.
Mulan fan.
I'm very curious how the dragons are going to go in that.
Because Mulan, as a feature film, was entirely produced and animated in Florida with the Orlando Animation Studio team. Did you know? You knew that.
No, I didn't actually know that.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
You're going to win Disney trivia when I'm on your team, honey.
Are you sticking around tonight for Disney trivia?
I'll try a little while. But seriously, that was the first time that the California team and Pasadena.
You're talking about the original animation.
The original animation of Mulan was handed over to the other production staff working in Orlando, believe it or not.
Yep.
Yes.
I actually do remember that.
What a fantastic film. Mulan, look, anything that involves cross-dressing is fun. It's always fun. It's always RuPaul's Drag Race or Mulan. I can't make up my mind which one.
I love it.
And Donny Osmond singing "I'm Gonna Make a Man Out of You."
Oh my God, that was the best.
That wink, wink. I'm gonna make a man out of you.
Yep.
That was. I don't know if they were.
Mr. I'll make a man out of you.
Okay, coming back to this is supposed to be about theonering.net.
Yes, I know. We really got on a tangent there.
We'll end up talking, but the fan experience, the Disney fan experience, is definitely on our minds as much as it is the Tolkien Ringers experience. And because there's a lot of overlap. Lee Pace is the overlap. Lee Pace, no, actually Hugo Weaving is one of the major overlaps. Okay, since the Marvel universe
Lee Pace is
now
Captain Marvel.
in Disney's.
Yes, which I wanted to talk about because I saw Captain Marvel yesterday.
No! She saw Captain Marvel yesterday.
I saw Captain Marvel.
Holy, I'm going to nerd out. I'm going to totally lose my nerd. I'm going to totally lose my nerd right now. Really?
Yes, I did.
All right, tell me it's all about the kitty cat. It's all about...
Oh, my God. Goose is amazing in that.
Goose?
Yes.
Yes?
Goose.
Okay. Because they changed the cat's name from Chewie.
Yes.
In the comic books, the kitty cat is named Chewie.
So now the cat's name is Goose. And
Goose? And it's all about Goose.
Goose definitely steals the show a lot.
Yes! I can't wait to get me some...
I also have to say, for anybody
Marvel
that is
action.
a huge fan of Agent Coulson, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of that stuff.
Of course, Agent Coulson. He's great.
This isn't just an origin story of Captain Marvel. It's an origin story of Coulson and Fury.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa. So there's a great deal of advancement on that front of the story as well.
Yes, there is. And it's fantastic.
Is it? You approve?
I do approve. I will say this, and this doesn't spoil anything in case people are worried. I feel like Marvel had a lot to live up to with this being the first female-fronted superhero movie that they've done. And when you compare it to DC,
their Wonder Woman.
It's supposed to be comparable to Wonder Woman. It does not compare to Wonder Woman at all. And in my opinion, it falls very flat. I was like, but Wonder Woman didn't need a lot of introduction, and they got into the story and mixed her into modern. This is very much an origin story, and it's a brilliant origin story. And you don't really see where Captain Marvel can go until right at the end of the movie, and it just basically cuts it off and sets it up for Endgame, which Avengers Endgame is going to be ridiculous.
Really?
So it's a solid film. I'm not saying it's a bad film at all. I expected more going into it, knowing the comic book character of Captain Marvel.
Okay. Does Captain Marvel satisfy as its own film, as well as satisfy the important job that it has of getting the audiences ready for Avengers Endgame?
Yes.
It works on both levels.
It works on both levels. You're gonna learn so much about Carol and her history. I was like, you're gonna feel and actually like the character, which I know a lot of people that are not completely into the MCU were like, why do I need to see Captain Marvel? Who's Captain Marvel? I'm not going to that one. I'm just waiting for Avengers.
I don't own any of the movies.
Yeah. I was
Zero.
just like, but if you go and see Captain Marvel, you will now be invested because she's got a great story.
I don't see any, and I have not heard any Marvel fans, and I know many of them, none of them have said, that's a skip. I'm going to skip. I heard them say Ant-Man and the Wasp might have been something they would want to skip, but not Captain Marvel.
My nervousness about Captain Marvel is the troll armies on the internet that destroyed The Last Jedi.
Or destroyed the all-female Ghostbusters.
And destroyed
just toxic,
Solo.
Toxic
and
people
convinced a
general?
bunch of people not to even go see Solo and have been on Rotten Tomatoes giving Captain Marvel, a movie that's not even out, like a 2% Rotten Tomato rating.
Wait a minute. Didn't Rotten Tomatoes change their policy that you're no longer going to be allowed to be posting stuff if it's not constructive?
Because of Captain Marvel? Yeah. Why? Wait.
You're telling me there's Rotten Tomatoes
before,
is being
like before
trolled?
the movie came out? That happened?
Rotten Tomatoes was being trolled for 2 weeks, and Captain Marvel was trending at like less than 10% positive ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. So the entire website changed their entire algorithm because Captain Marvel was getting trolled by the same group that no pre-release user reviews from now on.
Also, aside from no pre-release user reviews,
she's
but
already
also,
changed the game.
Also, a review would not be allowed if it was not like there was another extension of that policy change.
Yes.
That Rotten Tomatoes will not allow posts if they're not constructive criticism. And I guess the biggest identifier is people who are making comments before the film is released.
It's always interesting to me how people troll before they've seen anything. I've never understood why we need to have the need to do that. Like, let's watch it first and then judge things.
Do you know what would be a really good litmus test? Let's see how much the Tolkien community turns that out. Because they never have before. Yes. There has never been, Justin, you know that there has not really been any significant toxicity in our Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien, Hobbit, Silmarillion fandom. We have, by some, maybe because of the good stuff that Professor Tolkien taught us, and that the professor was always steering us towards our better selves, as he does with his own characters. Maybe our better selves are going to be evident, and we'll be able to bypass all that BS.
Pipsky says, Justin, stop reading Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't read Rotten Tomatoes. I just read the news.
All right, that's fair enough.
Well,
I do want to say also, while we're on Tolkien-related things about Captain Marvel, that you will find Lee Pace in this film playing Ronan the Accuser, and
from the first Guardians of the Galaxy film,
where we find out that he's sort of a minion of Thanos at that point.
Is he one of the Kree?
He is, and he's all about Kree supremacy, and there's a lot about Kree that goes into the Captain Marvel story.
What I find interesting is that these Kree have been mentioned in a couple of earlier films.
They've been mentioned in earlier films and spent a bit of time in quite a few episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Carefully bringing that universe together.
I will say this. There is one thing I walked out of that theater with yesterday, and I went, I don't know how Marvel continuously reconnects things and like brings callbacks from films a while ago. I'm like, did they really plan all of this 10 years ago at the beginning? Or are they just this good at bringing it all back? And like, as they started to realize that they could create this world, because there was a lot of things that I saw that I went, I need to rewatch 3 specific movies now and all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was like...
Yeah. There's a couple of YouTube videos that say you need to watch the first Guardians film before going to see Captain Marvel. And you need to see, probably because of Ronan, of course. And also there's some insistence that you need to see, of course, Infinity War and another one before seeing Captain Marvel. What do you think are the most appropriate MCU films?
You don't need to see Infinity War.
Before seeing
I would
Captain Marvel?
definitely see Infinity War before you see Endgame. I don't think you need to see it before Captain Marvel.
Really?
I would watch any Marvel movie that has the Tesseract in it.
Okay. That includes Thor Ragnarok. That includes You know,
Anything with Loki in it.
anything that includes the very first of. That includes
Yeah, this is another reason why I loved Captain Marvel.
not Age of Ultron, but the first Avengers film.
Yes, the first Avengers film when Loki is sort of the villain of that one, and they first
Yes.
discover the Tesseract in his scepter. Yes.
Okay, well, I'll tell you
So
what.
do you think they've managed the internet trolls who have issues with a woman-led movie or any of that stuff? Do you think they've managed that conversation well?
No, there's a lot of online platforms and communities that have very poorly managed those issues. Are you kidding?
So what lessons can we learn
What
from Captain Marvel as we enter the Lord of the Rings on Amazon, where
As-
a lot of the
as
similar...
No, I don't know what we learned from Captain Marvel. What we learn is from our previous behavior as a fandom around The Hobbit. You know, Justin, The Hobbit film trilogy was a moment where there was quite suddenly a difference of opinion, but it never became toxic. Did it? All right, all of us loved the Lord of the Rings films, all of us hardcore fans of the books, especially the interconnection between new fans who discover the books because of the effectiveness of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Then when the Hobbit films come out, there was a difference of opinion because there was a difference in quality of the product. But we never became toxic, did we? No, just you guys can't hear that, but Justin is actually shaking his head. It's the kind of thing that you don't do when you're talking to Stevie Wonder. You don't answer by nodding or shaking your head. You actually pick up the microphone and answer. Okay, the audience can't see him, but I'm telling you. So what do you think, Chelsea? That we've already managed to avoid that kind of toxicity by looking at our previous behaviors. I'm pretty sure, as a fandom, we're in a very comfortable place because we've always been really well behaved. But now
we've been really well behaved, and I think we're just when the Lord of the Rings films came out, I feel so many of us were so pleased that we have more of a benefit of a doubt now. Like, so instead of just getting really cautious early on, that all of us are more accepting to let's see what goes on here. And I like that about this crowd.
Me too. Well, a lot of this crowd, and I shouldn't be speaking for all of you, but sometimes I do. You guys, I know the fan response to The Hobbit was generally, really enjoyed the first one, really liked the riddle game, but all that love triangle stuff with, Legolas being unrequited with his affections for Tauriel falling for a young dwarf who should have had a beard but didn't have a beard. He didn't even have scruff. I mean, we have our problems, but
I don't like that they felt the need to have a love story. Like, we didn't need to add it in.
No, we didn't. But we don't tear each other down.
No.
I mean, I like the Hobbit films because I get more Christopher Lee, and I get more of those other interesting things. I love what I get out of the Hobbit films, and I dislike what happens in the Hobbit films on my own terms.
Yes.
Especially that cockamamie action sequence with the dragon and the wheelbarrow and the Thorin riding around on some molten gold lava flow in a heroic wheelbarrow. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, I got my problems with it. And Justin's over here saying, I love that. Well, pick up the microphone and tell the world you love that. Claim it. Boy, claim that.
Yes, I'm right there with this comment that just came in. Don't listen to trolls and don't let trolls define the fandoms. That's exactly it.
Well, in many pockets, especially in Star Wars, the trolls unfortunately redefined the fandom entirely. It got really bad. Kelly Marie Tran canceling her online accounts because of the hostility.
That's Rose, right? From
that would
Star
be
Wars?
Rose Tico.
Yeah.
The young woman who played Rey, Daisy Ridley. Didn't she take herself off of Instagram as well?
Yeah, and Cliff,
we have managed as Tolkien fans to be above that. Thank Eru, and I praise
we've
Iluvatar
always embraced
that
new
we're above
people
that.
coming in. Whether you discover Tolkien through movies, books, cartoons, T-shirts, or cosplay,
Yes.
like we've always, that no one's a lesser fan. Like Star Wars, people kind of look at you funny if you like the special editions.
Yeah.
Or if you like The Last Jedi, they look at you.
Or
Yeah.
just it doesn't matter what Star Wars fan you talk to. Just what if you don't agree with whatever their version of why they love Star Wars is, that you get judged for it. Which, like, I'm a very casual Star Wars fan. I've seen the films, but I don't really retain much about that universe. It doesn't resonate with me. I was like, so people talk to me about things, and I'm like, what? And then they just are like, you're not a good nerd. I'm like, I talk to me about Tolkien. Sorry. Like,
Yeah.
Cliff, how did you get along with one of our resident Tolkien fundamentalists, Mike Urban, who is famously against the movies? In fact, hated the Two Towers because he walked out of Two Towers because the hobbits shouldn't be at Osgiliath at all. Like, he walked out of that.
I was pissed off too. The hobbits should not have been taken to Osgiliath.
no.
By all rights, we shouldn't even be here.
And there was a lot of people who actually stood up and said, "You're damn right." When Samwise has that dialogue, I was one of those fans who actually raised up his hands. I didn't leave the theater, but I was pissed off.
'Cause we gotta finish the film,
what
of
has
course.
changed in online discourse when you could have a conversation on the OneRing.net between you and Mike Urban, two polar opposites of fandom? You know, he's very literal to the books. What has changed now with online discourse?
What has changed now is that a lot of the voices now that are dissenting are no longer coming with an intellectual pedigree of studying Tolkien's languages since the from the 60s. Mike Urban is such a professional Tolkien scholar. He has legit years, decades of deep lore and studying. He can transliterate any of the languages. He knows some of the people from the Tolkien Society way back in the 60s, who were the original group of the Los Angeles Science and Fantasy Society, who presented Professor Tolkien with a bloody reward. I mean, an award. That's what I meant to say. He got a sci-fi fantasy award from LOSFUS. That's the acronym. LOSFUS is Los Angeles Science and Fantasy Society. And Professor Tolkien hated the thing. He said, it's an absurd trophy. We talked about it in our documentary, Ringer's Lord of the Fans. He's like, it looks like an upended, rocket ship with a Ronson lighter stuck in the butt end of it. That's what Professor Tolkien had to say. He's like, it's an absurd trophy. I've got it collecting dust. I use it to put
It's a paperweight.
my pipe shavings, my pipe ashes. He's like, but Professor Tolkien thought that was ridiculous. But Mike Urban's legit griping has gone quiet. What is different now, to answer your question, what's different now, Chelsea, is that the people who really do have legitimate gripes, the older fans, are sometimes a lot quieter now. The people who are more toxic or just talking out of their,
That's what it is in general.
talking out of their pie hole, they're
the
more
people
prevalent.
that spend the most time on social media really have nothing else going on in their lives.
That's it.
I was like, other than to just find conversation. And so they troll accounts. And it's not even necessarily having to be negative. It's just they're bored and what conversation can I get into? And that's a big part of it. And then everybody else that might be on the more positive side is busy living their lives.
That's right. Well, what's kind of funny is that the positive energy of the uplifting intellectualism that we find so buoyant in the Tolkien fandom, we're not intellectually oppressive fans. Like, you don't know your junk. You're not a real fan. Usually we say, oh, you'll find this interesting. Look it up here and here, and you'll find this. You'll love it. Read it. Enjoy it. You're going to really enjoy learning about this. Usually our attitude, if someone doesn't know the real stuff they're talking about, usually we gently encourage them with references to the letters, to the published History of Middle-earth series, to the Silmarillion. Usually we're bloody helpful. We're always glad to help someone and be guideposts towards their deeper understanding of Tolkien. That is the behavior I've seen most often.
And honestly,
that's what I've seen as well.
Have you?
That's why this show has been going on for over 7 years, because our chat room is toxic free, and when someone comes in trying to
It really has been.
starting trouble, people in the chat room shut it down pretty quickly. Like it, and it's not. It has nothing to do with moderators and having the ban hammer available. It's just the community says we don't want that around here, and that's not cool.
We're just like, I'm just not going to deal with it. I went to an Instagram intensive. I was telling Justin at SAG earlier today, and so question of what do you do with these people that send you inappropriate messages and comments? You just block everybody, and the guy was like, just ignore them. Don't feed into it. Don't cater into it. Don't put energy there. Just don't worry about it. And I thought that was just brilliant. I was like, if you don't engage, it's just going to fall flat and go off the deep end, and it'll go where all the memories go and inside out that you forget about.
Yeah, where the brightly colored balls get taken off the shelf and then just thrown in the back.
Yep.
The back of your cerebellum. Oh, I love Inside Out. That's brilliant.
Let's see. You
or maybe that song from Mary Poppins, Where the Lost Things Go. All right, stop it.
So
stop it.
Cliff, carrying on this conversation about informed discussion.
Yes.
There were a bunch of people on Twitter last week that spent multiple days arguing whether Riz Ahmed could even be cast as Aragorn. And the discussion is Aragorn is a white guy and Riz Ahmed is not. And
I saw a lot of enthusiasm from people saying, yes, Riz Ahmed would be excellent casting for Aragorn.
So the question is, does Tolkien describe Aragorn in any racial capacity?
Other than being a ranger? I don't.
Professor Tolkien describes Aragorn's physical appearance because of the Hobbits' mistrust for him.
However,
at a moment when they need to trust him.
Skin tone is ever talked about anywhere.
Never, ever.
No, not really. No.
Are Numenorians supposed to be Anglo-Saxon white?
No, Numenorians are supposed to be an advanced, clearly advanced, I would say, population of the Edain, and that is the word from the Silmarillion for the first men. The Edain are what the elves called mortal men. And the Numenorians were special. They were gifted because they remained helpful to the elves, and they were rewarded for their help by being given the island of Numenor. During the Great War of Wrath, which was the big baddie Morgoth, which would be Sauron's big daddy.
Yes.
Yeah, Morgoth making his ultimate final throwdown to destroy the elves and the dwarves, but the men who fought alongside the Noldor, they were rewarded after the cataclysm that destroyed Beleriand and it sunk under the waves. They were given the land called, what was it called? It looks like a five-pointed star. The island of Numenor itself looks like a five-pointed star. So it's called by the elves Atalante. Pay close attention to that word, ladies and gentlemen. say it out loud. Atalante.
Atalante.
Atlantis. I mean, Atalante.
Literally, somebody in the chat was literally just talking about, do we think they're going to deal with Atlantis in the new Lord of the Rings on Prime series?
They'd better, because it is...
I agree.
Yes,
they should, but they better.
1,000%. We're all in agreement that this is a chance for maybe, if they have the ability to go into more of that story than is discussed in the appendix.
Yes.
There's only a few brief passages in the Appendix A, in the back of Return of the King, but if they get access to any of that stuff within the broader scope of Amazon's license with the Tolkien estate, I'm telling you, the Atalante thing, you will hear an elf say in Elvish on your television screens the word Atlantis. In Elvish, it's Atalante.
Yes.
That's Numenor. So why can't they be a different type of
Where do you think that came
skin
from?
tone? Why can't they be a slightly different
So we're saying
population?
that Aquaman is going to be in the new series.
Yes.
Jason Momoa is coming to...
Also, that's a great example. Aquaman was the whitest of the white comic book and cartoon animated character. There was nobody whiter than Aquaman. And when the movie came out, he is a beautiful
Polynesian
Pacific
god.
Islander.
A Polynesian god. A Pacific Island
Yes.
god.
So good.
So
I want to
say
say hello. There's a bunch of people that have been trying to get our attention, like Helen and my friend Oscar and Joe and all sorts of people. We see you. Keep chatting. We're not ignoring you guys.
Hi, guys.
I
Good to
also,
see you.
Helen,
Live
I
chat.
thought it was really amazing that you've seen mainly the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies multiple times, and the only other film you listed was also Bohemian Rhapsody. I might love you. And then this, I needed to read before it went away. In an alternate universe, Aragorn would be Chinese and would beat the orcs kung fu style. Imagine that. All the punches and kicks. Amazing. I love that.
Where do you think this idea that the Numenorians, Aragorn especially, but all the Numenorians need to be Anglo-Saxon? Where do you think that originated from?
I think that was just how things were casted for quite some time.
But Aragorn in Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings was obviously a dark-skinned, almost native Indian.
He sure was.
Right.
Sure was. Well, in general, the geo-positioning of the Lord of the Rings narrative, the map of Middle-earth is overlaid over Northern Europe. The Hobbits,
Right.
The Hobbits are incredibly Anglo-centric.
Which me and
It's
Justin
all
were talking
Anglo-centric.
about this thing earlier of like everybody likes to believe in history that there was nobody of color in Europe back in the Renaissance period and before, which is absurd.
That is absurd.
It's
Yes.
absolutely absurd. I was like, but in
Yes.
every story we're told, we're just like, oh, those people didn't exist then. They just magically appeared later. Like,
Okay, the thing that I want to get across is that Riz Ahmed is an incredibly capable, dynamic young performer, as
Yes.
is so many other people of color. But to have them shut off of a possible casting list, all right, in the Lord of the Rings trilogy film production, casting people were looking for Rohan extras, Elven extras,
Yes.
and Hobbit extras.
Yes.
A lot of them were defined by ethnotype. A lot of them were, because they
and,
wanted
but more than anything, most of them were defined by height.
height. Yes,
Yes.
height. Yes, height and ethnotype, but not so much so in other stories where we're going now. Now Amazon has the ability, because they licensed all this stuff for a pretty penny. Believe me, we're going to be, look at the bloody map they're using as an enticement for all of us. We are going to be going into other areas of this world. So everybody can just get off their high horse. It is not going to be a porcelain white Middle Earth anymore.
Well, I'm
it's
just saying,
by
if
necessity
in
of the
Westeros-
story.
If in Westeros we can have a lot of different colors represented, we can have it in this new series.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, please and thank you. Why not have Riz Ahmed next to, who's the young actor who plays Bucky, the Winter Soldier?
Sebastian Stan.
Thank you. Why not look at Sebastian Stan and Riz Ahmed in the same breath for casting the same role? Why not? Why the hell not? Why not?
Are there
I
any-
want someone to explain to me why that wouldn't be a conversation in any casting director's office in town right now. Really?
Yeah,
You got
absolutely.
nothing to stand on.
Especially right now, it's all about diversity in casting and stuff like that. So it's way more of a possibility now than it ever has been. And it doesn't matter about the stories of what people thought they were. Just because you read a book and you saw a character a certain way doesn't mean that everyone interprets it that way. And I guarantee that a kid growing up in Africa that read The Hobbit and The Silmarillion and Lord of the Rings had an entirely different perspective of what those characters would look like than I did growing up in Texas.
Indeed. Fair enough. Indeed.
Lord of the Rings on Prime follows us, speak right to them.
Well, Lord of the Rings on Prime, of course.
Hi, Amazon.
I tell it, hey, everybody at Amazon Studios. Hi, guys. Come on back for some more mischief next time. We'll help you manage it. Mischief managed. The thing that we want to talk to the nice folks at Amazon Studios is that it's the 21st century, and we have the ability to bring some of our sensibilities of storytelling and narrative, and we can agreeably bring some of these notions into this world that Professor Tolkien created in the 20th century, okay? But we're crossing over a little bit. 20th century writer who created his worlds in the 30s and got the Lord of the Rings published in the 50s after decades of work. Some estimates in between 13 and 17 years of work before Professor Tolkien actually got the Fellowship of the Ring published. Okay? It's a bloody long time. So taking that amount of time to build this kind of a narrative and the scope of it being so very, very wide across a wider world, and Amazon, I know you spent all that money to get access to that wider world and the bigger canvas. There's no reason you guys are going to not use the license that you paid for. We're ready for it. We're more than happy to have this multicultural idea really take us to other places in Middle-earth. And it wouldn't be less J.R.R. Tolkien. It's even more of that world that he wanted to explore, but Tolkien's publishers would not cooperate. They shut him down on the Silmarillion over and over again. While the poor man was alive, isn't that true?
It's absolutely true.
His heart was broken
Yes.
to the utmost because the Silmarillion would not see the light of day while he was alive on this earth. And he couldn't finish it to his own satisfaction. Tolkien was desperate to redo the Silmarillion until it actually worked right. And he couldn't get it to the point where any publisher would say yes. And there was a lot of, screw you. There was really a lot of disagreement between Tolkien and his publishers. And now here we are in this modern world.
But can you imagine being a publisher at that time, and that's what you're handed, not knowing the breadth of where it could go? And just reading that, it's a hard read. Like, I can understand why a lot of publishers just read that and was like, some makeshift history book that, okay.
Well, it might be a key to the Lord of the Rings existing at all.
Oh, no, it absolutely is.
Because of the Silmarillion was declined, the publisher said, give us more about hobbits, more stuff about those characters. And then he went back to his writing desk and he started working on it. And then 15, 17 years later, we got it.
Yep, we sure did. Everybody in the chat, since I said it, is asking where I grew up in Texas. I grew up in Houston. I lived in Austin for a long time as well, and I've been here in LA for like the last 15 years.
Did you go to the Hobbit Cafe in Houston?
Yes, I did, all the time. My favorite place. It's the one thing I miss so much, the Hobbit Hole in Houston. It's a vegetarian restaurant with all of the Lord of the Rings stuff everywhere. It's amazing.
I love that place. Oh my God. When we did a cross-country drive going to Dragon Con, we actually had a great meal there.
It's so good.
I love that place there. Okay, yes. Hey, Amazon Prime, if you guys are watching, yes, we're ready for it. Bring it. It's time to bring 21st century sensibility and storytelling to the wider world of Tolkien. And guess what? We're ready for the creation of the rings on that map.
Yes.
I want to talk about that map, by the way.
Yes, we're going to do it.
But
I want to talk about that
before
map.
we wrap that up, all I have to say is look what they did with Aquaman. The whitest of cartoon characters is Jason Momoa.
Yes.
And we love it even more.
Yeah.
So, but if you were to speak to all the people on Twitter that argued all week, there were so many people on Twitter saying the Numenorians are white. How dare you?
Really? I didn't see that. But you know what? To that contingent,
glad I didn't see it.
What shall we say to that contingent? All right, if there are Tolkien fans out there who think that Numenorians strictly have to be Eurocentric, Northern European, or perhaps then you might be confusing some of your cultures and peoples of Middle-earth. It was the Rohirrim who were based on the Norsemen, not the Finlands, but the Norwegian, the Swedish, the Vikings. They were supposed to be white and blonde-haired. Just the Rohirrim, because they came from the northern Vales, way up at the top of the Anduin, where it almost met the Vales outside of Mount Gundabad, the orc stronghold at the northern tip of the Misty Mountains, which the elves named Hithelgeir. So
is that northern waste, or are we talking a different area?
Not that far north.
Okay,
but
different
they were Northmen.
North.
They were Northmen.
Okay.
The Numenorians were not. They were not Northmen. They don't have to be porcelain white and blonde hair. Just rethink the map. That's why there's a bloody map in front of us right now, to get us all talking about this on this level. And it's working.
It's totally working.
It's working. We're talking about it.
So, Cliff, you weren't here last week as we started to break down this map. And we spent a lot of time talking about...
The map's over my face. So I gotta lean in over here. Hey there, the map's over my face.
All right, perfect.
Hi there.
So last week we spent a lot of time talking about the new things that happen in the map, and I started to talk a little bit about the Druidin, which are
the land of the Druidine.
Yes.
The Druidine, that would be Gon Borigon.
Yes.
One of those characters, like Tom Bombadil, who has never shown up in any adaptation. Wow, I love that. The Pukul men.
Yeah, so these are the men, apparently, the deformed men. I was like, that are in this area, and we were talking about like what that could look like in terms of like, are they more like orcs or are they more like the Hunchback of Notre Dame? You know, like.
Yeah, I think they're more like Hunchback, or like maybe they're more like gnomish types of people, but
because it references in the Silmarillion that they were often hunted by other men for being mistaken as beasts.
It was the men of Eorl, the Rohirrim, who hunted Gon Borigon's people like beasts, and his resentment was real. His resentment is true. So even a whole culture of people that we love to embrace, the Horse Lords of Rohan. Well, they weren't all sweet and sugar and rosewater. Sometimes they were doing bad things, like bad people. Well, sometimes people are bad people, sometimes. Even in Middle-earth.
Yes.
Even in Middle-earth, nobody's perfect. And Gon Borigon was talking about racial violence and discrimination. Yes, it's the 21st century. We can have these stories in our Middle-earth now. Bring it, please.
Yes.
Bring it.
So we were
Bring
talking
it.
about that. I told them about the whole thing with Galadriel and the Malorn trees and how.
You'd mentioned that too?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We talked about that.
Oh, yeah, that's because on the map, Laura Lindoranan is the name of the area before she arrives with any seedlings and plants any Malorn.
Yes.
So it's pre-Lothlorien.
Yes.
And even deeper.
Which also means that we're really the rings being forged, which we talked a lot about, that this could be the origin of the rings being made. And we'd see Sauron as a different form, deceiving the elves to convince them to make these rings.
Anatar.
Yes.
Making friends with Lord Celebrimbor.
Yep. I was like, so a lot of fun things. And then and then the best part was also talking about, and since we're going that far back, what lives in the Northern Waste area but dragons.
Yes, dragons.
And are we going to get all of the dragons?
We could get all kinds of beasties and ghoulies, and we might even learn stuff that we didn't know. Because that's the way knowledge works. You don't know what you don't know, guys, okay? Yeah, thank you for that. I have a slight penchant for stating the obvious, but the point is, thank you, Chelsea, for talking about, and thank you for handling the show with your friend last week. The two of you were fabulous on the show last week.
And thank you.
I appreciate you taking the mantle of this and running for a bit. What? You didn't dust off the mantle? You didn't dust off the mantelpiece?
I'm sorry, I didn't know that was my job.
Thorin left you a note, Bilbo, under the clock. You didn't dust the mantle? Shame on you. Anyways, deep cuts.
That's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
Deep cuts on theonering.net. I'm excited that we're looking at a map that is showing us something 500 years before Aragorn was born.
Yeah.
So the question remains, is this pre-release map trying to just get us up to speed historically with a bunch of stuff about the lands of Middle-earth and the stage before the rings are made? Is that because the story itself is going to begin in that period of time? Or is this map really going to be where Season 1, Episode 1 opens? In other words, is this map part of the context of the opening of the season, or is this only pre-context for us to digest and understand the world of the making of the rings?
They don't have the rights to this. They can't put this on TV.
That's it. Then it becomes a question of licensing. Justin, they don't have the license for this, and yet they're using the names on the map anyways.
Which then brought up the point last week of, or is this giant interactive map to fool us all? And it has nothing to do with the series that's coming.
Maybe it's got nothing to do with the series, and they're just trying to give us all like that song. Let's give them something to talk about.
Listen, today, right?
Bonnie Raitt?
Was that
Maybe.
Bonnie
Yeah.
Raitt? No, that was
Yeah.
Melissa Etheridge.
No,
I think
not
Melissa
at all.
did the
It
cover
was
of
Bonnie
it, but
Raitt.
it's originally
Look,
Bonnie.
Okay, it was Bonnie
right
Raitt.
now,
Thank
as
you.
we
Yes.
speak, during this show,
Oh my
down
gosh.
Sunset Boulevard, Tower Records is open. And
Really?
it's got Captain Marvel posters, and you can get a photo op with the cat. Tower Records has nothing to do with Captain Marvel, but they're still doing a marketing thing for Tower Records.
Oh, you mean at the old Tower
Well,
Records
you know,
location?
yesterday they had Bush perform at Tower Records for Captain Marvel. That's what the activation started as.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so
cool.
they can do stuff in marketing that they can't do in the show.
Yes.
So
'Cause
I'm saying
and-
that these maps
and-
are marketing only.
We went into the movie for Captain Marvel yesterday, and a friend texted Captain Marvel activation, Bush playing a concert at Tower Records. So the movie started 5 minutes after that, and I went, okay, so is Bush in the film? I did not hear one Bush song. So again, it's right on point to what Justin is saying. They can do whatever they want with marketing. Now, Bush was a popular band in the 90s. Captain Marvel set in the 90s. They had a lot of No Doubt in there, and Gwen Stefani dated Gavin Rossdale. Is that the connection? I don't know. So if we're going off
Intriguing.
that logic, this map
Intriguing.
literally could just be to throw us off the scent.
Okay, the map has now gone off the screen. Getting to the question in the live chat, is there another unpublished Tolkien book that they're going to release just before it, meaning Amazon's television series? The answer is no. Christopher Tolkien has told us that hardcover of Beren and Luthien that just came out, less than a year ago, that's it. That's the last one.
That's the one everyone was waiting for.
But
That's the
haven't-
one everyone was waiting for.
Haven't they
that was
made
it.
similar claims before, though?
No, well, Miyazaki is the guy who keeps saying, I'm going to retire, and then he lies, and he comes back out of retirement. This time, Christopher Tolkien is not coming back. He's actually retired. Now, Justin, some whispers in the wind, tell us if we're wrong, is that the license that Amazon Studios has purchased is not just what's in the appendix or the appendices at the back of The Return of the King, but they've got some expanded possibilities, like with some agreement with the family estate. They've got the ability to license a couple of other little bits here and there. So that means we're getting names on this map, right, Chelsea, like Kalanarthon. We're getting Laura Lindoranan. We're getting all these names that are outside of the appendix, and they're in Unfinished Tales. These are names that are in the Silmarillion. We'll wait and see if the Orocarni show up, which are the mountains far, far to the east of the land of Rhûn. If they use the name Orocarni, that is from the Silmarillion. They're getting some type of a
Which,
license to use that word.
Speaking of Rhûn, we also kind of hinted at this of the map we already established is much older in history than we know or we're expecting. But Rhûn is where most of our species first woke. Could they even go that far back?
Yes, that is the areas where the firstborn children of Ilúvatar, the elves, first awoke on the far, far edges of the inland Sea of Helkar. Pick up a copy of the Atlas of Middle-earth by Karen Wynne Fonstad. Do yourself that favor and get yourself a copy of that atlas, no matter what. And we'll discuss more of this. I'm sure they're getting these names from somewhere that's not just the appendix.
Yep.
They're getting these names, Justin, from some other piece of licensing. And I don't know whether this map is part of Season 1, which we have been told and have been telling the world it's all going to be about young Aragorn. But this map is not a map of young Aragorn's
No,
story.
not at all. Not even close.
It's 5 centuries before Aragorn's birth in this map.
It's not even Aragorn's dad.
No,
No,
way
no,
not.
no. We are far back. Woo!
Yep. So this is fascinating. This
I
is
th-
very
I,
fascinating.
my theory is this is just pre-release marketing. They're going to tell some of the mythology, catch everybody up on the history of the Numenorians, and
Which they could.
And
They
then-
might just do in a 10-minute montage at the beginning, the way they kind of touch on the history in the beginning of Lord of the Rings. Maybe that's all this is. I don't know. Maybe this map leads to our first teaser.
Yep, very good. Hey, Ray says that the English version of the Silmarillion is now on Audible.
Do-do-do.
It's on Audible, which is Amazon, right?
Yes.
what's that, like a 2-week
Yeah.
audiobook?
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot, dude.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it might take you more than that to get through it because it's just a lot to process.
I am still comfortable saying what we've said all along, that Amazon's new series is going to start with young Aragorn as an entry point. I'm comfortable looking at this map as some kind of pre-release enticement or trickery.
Totally. Tomfoolery. Tom Bombadillery.
I want some Bombadil so bad, please. If you're listening, hey, do you want the Tom Bombadil?
Oh, absolutely. That's the one thing I've always wanted is Tom represented.
Amazon, if you put Tom Bombadil anywhere,
Can I be Tom Bombadil?
Can we please? I promise you that everybody will subscribe to Amazon Prime. The universe.
That is a huge promise.
that would be better than.
I do not promise that.
That would be better than taking the orange spice gas from Arrakis and folding space like a third stage guild navigator.
I disagree.
Floating in a tube of grossness in a David Lynch film. It would be greater than anything.
No.
To have the Tom Bombadil.
Why are you denying us the Bombadil?
I don't want Tom Bombadil. I want Riverdale in Rivendell. I want an angsty young teenagers, Arwen and her twin
want a very
brothers.
Prancy Tom Bombadil.
Arwen and her twin brothers meet up with this new kid in town named Strider, and she knows she shouldn't fall for him.
Oh, Justin, the audiobook is 14 hours and 49 minutes long.
14 hours, 49 minutes.
But will take you 14 months and 49 minutes to get through.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So another thing that I think we can tease a little bit about is that there's a new trailer coming for the Tolkien movie.
What? You mean Fox Searchlight is going to have a new?
Yes, a new trailer, and it should be out tomorrow morning.
Oh, wow.
And you might be able to view that on the onering.net.
Yes, I think we're going to do that. I definitely think we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Is that exclusive? Exclusive, guys. I guess
it's exclusive news, guys.
We're releasing the new. Wow, that's a big.
It's a regular trailer, not a teaser.
All right, a regular full version of the Dome Kurakowski film Tolkien.
That will be released in May.
Starring Lily Collins.
Yes.
And Nicholas Hoult. And also starring
your imagination.
From I, Claudius, the famous British actor.
Ian Holm?
No, he's on the same level as Ian Holm. From I, Claudius.
Anyway, you can look up the cast on IMDb.
He's also in. He plays Tolkien's older professor who gets him into philology and languages.
I haven't seen it yet, so.
We had a few comments on Twitter coming about the Tolkien movie saying that the Game of Thrones dropped a new trailer today for the last season of Game of Thrones, and a few people said George R.R. Martin is more popular than J.R.R. Tolkien just because he's alive in the Twitter age. I think Tolkien movie is going to change that, and Tolkien will become a known person.
Here's the difference. Game of Thrones existed in the prime of social media, whereas we did not have that luxury for Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. So those fans have rallied together.
That's true.
And I guarantee you that when this series comes out, it might not be the Tolkien movie, but the series comes out, we'll see a big rallying of that as well. And to whoever it was in the chat that just said that, yes, Chelsea, you can play Tom Bombadil, I love you. Thank you. Because, yes, I would like to be Tom Bombadil.
Emily, okay. Emily says, Emily, I appreciate you standing your ground, but you might be the one fan in all of England who has that stance. She says, nothing will make me subscribe to Amazon Prime. I will, however, buy the DVD once it comes out, or Blu-ray, rather, as Amazon will need to eventually release it on DVD or Blu-ray for fans. Well, Emily, you know what? You're going to be living in a whirlwind, a veritable cyclone of spoilers, while the rest of us in the world talk about the show over and over and over again, and you'll just have to wait and not be part of those conversations until when you get the home video release. Derek Jacobi, thank you, by the way. It's also the wonderful British actor Derek Jacobi, who stars opposite Lily Collins and Nicholas Hoult in the Fox Searchlight film Tolkien. There you go.
Can Game of Thrones fans get into Tolkien, and can Tolkien fans respect Game of Thrones?
Yes, because I respect Game of Thrones and love it dearly.
Of course, yes. We're all in this together.
Is there an overlap of fandom?
Yes, there's a huge,
absolutely
obvious overlaps of George R.R. Martin fans and J.R.R. Tolkien fans. Do you know why? There's a double R. That's why.
And remember, George R.R. Martin told you, Cliff, directly to your face that the R.R. is inspired by J.R.R.?
No, he didn't tell me that.
Oh, no, rumors. Here we go.
He didn't tell me that.
This is how rumors form, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, but everyone wants to pit Lord of the Rings versus Game of Thrones. You know, it's easy clickbait.
Everybody wants to pit everything against everything.
But it's clickbait news journalism that wants to make all these headlines us versus them versus them. Cliff, did you know that there is a Tolkien involved in Game of Thrones?
Don't worry, Emily. There's always a way. As Jeff Goldblum taught us, life finds a way. To answer your question, Justin, please repeat it.
Yeah, he was
reading
asking
the
if
chat.
you were aware that the great grandson of Tolkien is in Game of Thrones.
What, Royd Tolkien?
Yes.
Is he in Game of Thrones somewhere?
Yes, he is.
How did you know? I never saw that. How did anybody not tell me? Why did you guys not tell me this?
We're telling you right now.
I didn't know. You mean in the new season that I
No,
haven't seen
in the
yet?
last season. There he is right there on the screen.
Whoa.
So there you
Oh
go.
my
There's
gosh,
all the
Royd.
crossover you need.
Oh my gosh. That is Royd Tolkien in Game of Thrones. Oh my gosh.
Season 5, episode 8.
Well, I think that there's an appetite for Game of Thrones in the marketplace. And the reason why George Martin sat down and wrote it was because of The Lord of the Rings. Anyways, that's the big thing. The big connection, obviously, is that Mr. Martin was trying to see if he could play his hand at world building on the scale of Tolkien, and he wanted to throw his hat in the ring. It was because of the success of The Lord of the Rings in the publishing world that booksellers started to make a separate fantasy and sci-fi section in the bloody bookstore. That never happened. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. That's actually a really fun fact.
Fantasy was in the fiction aisle. There was no distinction in any retail bookstore to have a science fiction or fantasy area. It was all bundled over in fiction. But because of the massive influence of Professor Tolkien and the explosion of the fantasy publishing industry, things changed. That's why there's a fantasy section now. Because of the that's why Mr. Martin sat down and put pen to paper to even try to write a song of Ice and
like
Fire.
Somebody just said there's no Game of Thrones without Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no Coldplay without the Beatles. Right?
I mean, I could have done without Coldplay, but you know.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right.
But oh my God, hi Pete.
There
Everybody.
also wouldn't have been a lot of rock and roll in general without Elvis Presley.
What?
Elvis Presley was at the forefront of a lot of that stuff that started to shift the curve for rock and roll.
Yes, that's true. He did. That's very true. He really did.
And he stole a lot of that from R&B
Yep.
and blues
Yep.
and the Black South.
So basically the moral of the story is that everything is stolen from something else.
Yes, indeed.
Everything is a remix.
That's very, very true.
So basically, this whole thing that we've all been griping about, how nothing's original in Hollywood, has actually just been going on for centuries.
And Tolkien even said all of his stuff is inspired by other things.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and what I love about Tolkien, in love with Tolkien, was that he wrote languages and created lands for them first before making the story. Like there was actual languages. He was fond of linguistics and just wrote language. Who sits around going like, I'm going to invent my own language right now? That's awesome. Like the #1 nerd award right there.
I believe that. I'm down for that. I'm down for that. Someone's talking about whether Scotland is going to be the location for filming.
I want it to be Los Angeles so I can be a hobbit.
Nothing is locked
Tom
in
Bombadil.
stone. They've been scouting worldwide. They've been scouting.
Yes, they have
Scotland,
been scouting in
Ireland,
Scotland, but
Romania,
but
New Zealand.
Have they scouted anywhere around here?
Not yet. But John Howe, famed illustrator,
Oscar winner John Howe.
John Howe says the place on the earth that best represents Mordor is Patagonia.
Yes, Patagonia.
Chile, Argentina.
No, he said it most represents the Silmarillion. The landscape of the Silmarillion is what he said. And I agree.
So should they? I would love if
I
they
agree.
shot in South America. Lord of the Rings shooting in South America
Yep.
gives us a whole new flavor.
Yeah, that's very true.
I'm surprised a lot of other major fantasy series have not been filming in Patagonia. And maybe it's the logistics and the
It
far,
might also
far
have to do with like
problems getting down there.
insurance and all sorts of other things that go into filming.
Yeah, but the wilderness and the types of geography in Patagonia is just so stunning.
I mean, there's so many lands around the world in general that are just never touched that would be amazing to be used for any film or TV project.
And New Zealand is on the same equatorial line as Patagonia. When you think of South Argentina and South Chile, and you just go around the map, and there's New Zealand. So if you want to, if Amazon is serious about carrying on the feel of the movies of Lord of the Rings, they should consider equatorial mountain ranges like the Pinnacles.
I agree. Oh, I
You
totally
so
agree.
dramatically put the microphone down at the end of that.
He's so
I really
cute.
wish that was on like camera just then. That was just so like he had a mic drop moment, literally.
Oh, and Outlander. Yeah, we forgot Outlander.
Outlander. How could we forget my favorite TV series right now?
I'm the guilty one who hasn't seen it yet.
You still haven't seen Billy Boyd in it then.
I'm terrible.
Horrible.
I'm a terrible Outlander.
How am I supposed
fan.
to be a fangirl about Billy Boyd and Outlander with you if you haven't seen it?
Then I'll have to watch the clips. I'll have to watch Billy in it just to see him. More Billy Boyd, please. Yes.
Yes, all Billy Boyd all the time. I would
all the time. Yes.
I would really actually love Billy and Dom to have like their own chat show. Like a talk
be
show.
brilliant,
It
yeah.
would be the most entertaining talk show that's ever
I'm
existed.
surprised they haven't done that yet.
Right.
Billy and Dom, if you want to take over the show, please come by.
Please, we want you to come on the show, guys.
We really do. Let's start an online petition. Everyone start tweeting Billy and Dom to come onto the show.
Yes, please. Dom's Wild Things and
At Billy Boyd actor.
Billy Boyd actor. Tell him, hey, go on Torn. Go on theonering.net.
Come and visit your friends in Hollywood and then
Yes.
around.
Yeah. It's only around the corner. Yes, and of course
No,
I have
I
to
meant
see
around
it.
the world because then we're live around the world.
And Graham McTavish, our boy Dwalin, is also an Outlander.
Yes,
I really
he
do
is.
need
Which we got
see
to
it.
see Graham come back this season, so that you definitely need to watch.
I love me some McTavish,
What?
especially in Castlevania. I'm a big
Yes.
fan of Castlevania.
I am too. Cliff
Oh,
and
so good.
Chelsea. Back
Yes.
to the map.
I'm sorry, it wasn't Graham that came back.
What?
It was Duncan.
Duncan.
What do you expect is the next iteration of the map?
I expect some
Or
things.
do you expect there to be anything else in the
Yep.
map?
I
Okay.
expect a couple of more specific things now. They're going to start naming cities. Now that they've given us big regions
Right.
and some
Well, that's
smaller
what
regions.
they've been doing. Like it was just like, continent, country, state. Like that's what they're just kind of working their way
Yeah.
down into
Yeah.
like getting into the neighborhoods of
Yeah,
things.
and then they'll go down to region, and then down to area, and then down to specific geographic features.
Yes.
We might even get more.
Are
Well, there
we
was one
even
mountain.
on right now?
Huh?
We've lost video like 2 minutes ago. Justin, do you know if they can hear us or if we're on?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're still
good.
on.
Just making sure.
I'm down for this.
Yeah.
They named one mountain at the far bottom of the map, and I think it's time for them to start naming cities,
Yes.
specific cities. And you know
Give
what we
us
will?
more things to talk about in plot.
We're going to be looking specifically the most intriguing thing that I want to see, and I'm going to lean outside of the frames. Okay, guys? All right, the map is back on, yes?
Yes.
All right, guys, take a look at this. Let me lean in just a little bit, my dear. I'm going to come out of the frame. Oh, so sweet. Come on. This part of the map, I can't see myself yet, but up here in the northern area where the Shire is.
I think it might be more like around here.
Right on here? Okay. Well, you can't see me anyways, but if you guys know where the Shire is found in the north, near the northern, central, and northern western part of Eriador, we want to look and see if the names...
Right by the Brandywine River.
Yeah, around there, let's see what happens next if the names of Arnor, the kingdom of Arnor, was split into 3 regions, and that would be...
This area right here.
That would be Arthedain, Rhudaur, and Cardolan. Those are the 3 names I want to see most of all. Arthedain, Rhudaur, and Cardolan. If we see those, then they're going to be telling us something on this map about the realms of the north, where Arnor failed in their struggles against the Witch King.
Yes.
The Witch King of Angmar. That's what I want to see next. What about you? What do you want to see
next? Oh my God.
next?
Somebody just put a random fun fact that I just got excited about in the chat. Helen said, by the way, the original version of the Skyboat song, which is the theme to Outlander, is now taught in music in Scottish primary schools.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's really awesome.
Wow.
It's an amazing fun fact. Thank you for sharing that, Helen.
That's super good. Yes, Helen. Oh, see now? Helen is one of our long-time audience fans, one of our best people in the whole community who's been with us on this live show, along with Emily, 6 in the evening, and you guys are staying up till bloody 2 a.m., so thank you for doing that.
Which is awesome. And you guys are here like every week, staying up and listening to us rant about nerdy things, and it's wonderful.
So what kind of stuff do you most look forward to seeing revealed on the map in the next wave of reveals?
I mean, I'm always looking forward to anything that gives us more origin and Hobbit stories. The Hobbits are my favorite. Anything that can give us any more history, if there's any untold story or story that is not there, would be really fun. Otherwise, I'm just really excited to explore dragons.
Do you think the fandom will get triggered if it's stuff that's not known?
I don't think it'll get triggered. I think some people that aren't as deep into it, like say Cliff and myself, will just be like, this isn't what I know of Tolkien. But if they do it well, which I'm pretty confident Amazon will, I was like, people will quickly get captured.
Cliff, what if the next map has town names that have no basis in any literature?
Which we already had a couple of those on the map, didn't we?
No. Every name that's on there is a basis in Tolkien's Unfinished Tales or Silmarillion or the appendices.
Unfinished Tales, right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just say it looks like we're buffering. And some of the chatters are saying that we're buffering now.
Yeah, we've been
I'm intrigued, Justin, by those city names if they show up and they don't exist anywhere. And they are the newest invented place names that the studio writers have created, then all bets are off. I won't have anything to say about it except welcome to the new Amazon show, because we're going to be encountering lots of characters and places and things that are not specifically mentioned by the professor. And I don't want
So I have a question. When this Amazon show drops, or is it going to be like everything else where we get everything at once? I was like, and if we get everything at once, how are we going to do this with our crowd? Because I feel like we should have a special Torn edition.
I liked Amazon not dropping everything at once like they did with the Romanovs.
Yes.
Which was a great show. It's a single season only show, but they only released the episodes every week for 6 weeks.
And Hulu did that with a couple of their series as well, which I very much like. Because I would like to be able to come here and do like an episode at a time and talk with people and like have a reaction to stuff. I was like, or set up some sort of watching party where we're like, okay, it's on in the background. We're all watching together and let's like, I don't know. It would be fun.
I got a funny feeling that they will not be doing a major season dump and everybody will just binge it because, you know, there's going to be a lot of extra ancillary material and shows, things created around this show, including my greatest interest in being involved in an after show after every episode.
Yes, actually, that's exactly what I was getting to. Is I would want some sort of after show, some sort of reaction, something.
Look no further. You guys are going to be getting an after show,
and we're saying
Woo!
It's going to be
not
awesome.
Not just an accident, but actual build it into part of production where like you schedule the actors that are relevant to the current episode. Like this has got to be planned in conjunction with the TV series.
Yes, indeed, it will be. Going to be quite interesting. You know
Yes.
what? The times they are a changing. Bob Dylan.
Yep.
Yes, they are. What? What'd you say?
He didn't say anything. He was
Justin,
taking a sip
Justin
of something.
drank
Coke.
that. He's drinking the blackberry soda
Ah.
with this real.
Blackberry or black cherry?
Is it black cherry?
Black
it's-
cherry. Black
oh.
cherry soda, even better.
Black cherry soda is yummers. I want some. But anyways, okay.
We digress.
I get so distracted by the easiest little hobbity things.
Exactly. You and me
Hobbity
both have like a
things.
shiny problem. We're like, what? What's that? What? Loading? What? Hmm?
Oh, and look here. We've got the Winter Soldier. Here's Bucky over
Yes,
here.
Sebastian Stan is actually with
There's
us today.
Sebastian Stan, you get your haircut, buddy? Just get a little haircut. You're looking good with that haircut, Sebastian. There you go. No, I'm just teasing. He's what?
Dave is
No, I want
so
to see the
confused
full
right
metal, like arm. I want the metal arm. Where is it then? You want one? Okay. We'll have to get you one. We'll have to get you. Yeah, we should get like this is the place to be, by the way. For any of you folks who are, what am I going to do? Go see a matinee on a Tuesday? No, you should come join us at theonering.net here at
Yes.
Scum and Villainy
Do it.
Cantina. It's going to be awesome. You can have delicious, food. They've got the tacos, the burgers, the nachos, the chicken wings, wangs. They got chicken wangs. And they've got some great drinks on the menu. So come and join us and be part of the live show.
And if you are in Los Angeles, I have another exclusive announcement. Is in honor of the Tolkien movie coming out in May and all of us having something new and exciting to talk about. We are going to do a Middle-earth themed game night here at Scum and Villainy on May 27th.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Oh, cool. Oh my gosh, we're going to have to bring that Reiner Knizia board game. But if I bring my original Ralph Bakshi board game, the 1979 board game, I'm not going to let anybody touch it. I don't want
that's
sticky.
fair.
Keep your sticky paws off.
I mean,
Bilbo
you
says
could
to
just be
Frodo.
like, if you're sitting at this table, you are not eating or drinking anything while playing this game, and we'll have like a game Nazi moment.
Yeah, that would be like a no drinks,
No zone.
drinks allowed zone.
Pipske wants to know, Justin, if your beverage comes in pints. Yes. It does come in pints. It's actually currently in a pint.
Okay, let's just say, folks, in a few more days, we'll expect another drop of information on
Yes.
the map that Amazon Prime is. Also,
Let's check right now. Let's just see if
Let's
they
take a look.
magically put anything up.
Chelsea, this is what I really wanted to ask you tonight on the
Okay.
show. What do you make of these weird choices of whom they are following on their Twitter and Instagram accounts?
We talked about this a bit last week.
Yeah, please, I want to know.
I really think it's more just throwing people off the scent. I was like, there's a lot of journalists that are being followed, and I think those are people that are just being given exclusive first reveals. And then everyone else just seems to be a super fan. Like, they're following my favorite football player, Fernando Torres. I was
Yes.
like, who's a Spanish footy player who was on Liverpool for years and is now part of Chelsea. I was like,
Oh,
and
yes.
he has Elvish tattoos.
It's a hardcore Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah.
So they're following Lord of the Rings fans, like Justin Timberlake. Are they following him?
Not
Not yet. We're waiting for that. They're following Vin Diesel.
They're following us, theonering.net.
Oh, hello.
Yes. But they are
That's
following Barack Obama.
He's a Lord of the Rings fan?
Yeah,
And of course, Neil
apparently.
Gaiman.
Wait, what a sec.
Oh, they were not following Stephen Colbert, but they are now. Now they're following Stephen at home. That's great. That's interesting. Who else
I'm
are they
sorry, I
following?
just got really confused because I just found out that Barack Obama follows me on Twitter.
He does?
He follows me. It says follows you, and
Oh,
I went
that's
to the
cool.
page. Was like, okay.
Wow.
Did not know that. Neil
Who knew?
Gaiman, Stephen King, which I thought was very bizarre.
No, Stephen King admits the influence that Tolkien had on him.
Really?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, he does.
That's interesting. I'm not a huge fan of Stephen's work, but
Oh, good. They're following the Tolkien Society.
Yep.
They're following Tolkien Guide. Mm-hmm. Nice.
and then that's another footy player that has Elvis tattoos. Megan
Yes.
Fox.
Lindsay Romaine.
Yes,
Staff
so
writer for
at the
Nerdist.
Nerdist. Yep. And then we've
Okay.
got editor-in-chief at IGN. We've got The Hollywood Reporter.
And we're following Jeff Bezos, of
Yep.
course.
That's it.
Jeff Bezos.
As I mentioned last week, it's interesting that they follow Barack
Look.
Obama because it's
the
more
Winter Soldier.
libertarians are big Tolkien fans, like Peter Thiel and Palmer Luckey are huger Tolkien fans than Obama is.
Yes, they are. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. They still haven't followed Weta yet.
Yeah, they haven't followed Weta yet. I was like,
Interesting. They haven't followed like Tourism New Zealand or any of those places yet. Okay.
they haven't followed you or me yet.
That's the problem.
Yes.
That's the problem. We're still
If you're
waiting
going to
for
follow
them.
Tolkien fans, I mean, really.
You want to tap into the biggest Tolkien fans in this hemisphere.
Yes, absolutely.
'Cause
And
this-
they're also not
just
following any of the actors from the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the Hobbit trilogy, which is fascinating.
I would have predicted that. But also, if they started following Elijah Wood or something like that, do you know the outcry? Do you know people would start freaking out? Oh my God, Elijah's involved in the show.
But just because they follow
start
someone
freaking
doesn't
out.
mean anything like that, though. They could still just follow Elijah because they want to be involved with the Hobbit on the, like, you know,
Exactly.
and share information.
Or they just
Who
want to
knows?
throw us for a loop.
Exactly. They
You
can
know-
literally do whatever they want to do.
I am pleased with the fact that their early effort at marketing is leaving us with so many weird little mysteries and little jokes, and the fan speculation is one of the most fun experiences we get to have.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to casting, and they're going to start making motions really, really soon, within the next 6 to 8 months, I'm sure, we're going to get real information about the people involved in the casting process. Because what's his name from The Walking Dead said, I can't cut my long hair. Not because I have Old Testament powers of Samson, but because they're casting for young Aragorn.
Yeah, everybody's trying for the role right now.
He said, I've got a reason to keep my hair long. And I'm like, okay. That kind of corroborates what we were talking about, you know?
Yep.
This is exciting.
Absolutely. It's a really exciting
is
time.
exciting.
And so I did just check, nothing new on the map, nothing new on their Twitter. So hopefully in the next few days, something else will be revealed to us.
Oh my God.
Maybe we have to speak friend for it to be revealed.
Melon.
Or some black speech, maybe. I don't know.
The best thing about one of the things about Tolkien's dialogue is when Gimli and Legolas are sitting outside the west gate of Moria, and Gandalf says the word melon, just for friend, and Legolas looks at Gimli and he says, "Time that was, when we were so nice to each other back then,
Yes.
that all you had to do was just say,
Friend.
we're awesome.
Yep.
You're a dwarf. I'm an elf. We're buddies. We're friends."
Absolutely.
You know, that kind of observation is dropped out of the Peter Jackson film. It's not in Peter Jackson's film at all. It's in Ralph Bakshi's film, where the characters make this observation to each other. And I think it's really fascinating. Really fascinating. Because you want to talk about multiculturalism and race relations and all the difficult things that we're talking about in our modern pop culture, look no further than Tolkien. Look at the Fellowship of the Ring itself as like the best example of that, of Professor Tolkien taking on multiculturalism or cultural pluralism. If you want to get into your, like, you know, poli-sci class, I'm not going to be your poli-sci professor, but, you know.
God, I haven't even heard that term in so long.
I know.
I just had PTSD
I
hearing
know,
that
I'm
term.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for that, Chelsea. But I'm just saying that nobody should be squawking and complaining about Riz Ahmed or some Mediterranean type of casting or someone with, oh, God forbid we should look at a brown person or someone with olive-colored complexion for casting in these roles. You know, this is Tolkien's world. He was already there talking about these things.
Ellen
You know?
wants to know if it was Norman Reedus that you were referring to about not cutting his hair.
Norman Reedus? No.
Walking Dead.
The guy who plays Jesus or Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah. He's the guy from The Walking Dead who said, I'm not going to cut my hair. But you know what?
There you go.
If they're really casting for young Aragorn, there might be some mistakes where some of these young actors or actresses actually let slip some information that they're not supposed to say.
Or what
like
if
that.
or what if they do like they're doing in Captain Marvel and some of the Star Wars films where they just bring in the original actor and then do a bunch CGI to make them look younger. So it's just Vigo that comes as Aragorn.
No. Wait, no. Hey, no one can hear you. You don't have a microphone, Justin. Come on. But do you know what I want to see? I want to see older Viggo Mortensen come to the show and be King Elisar. You know?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I want him to be, the king looking back in time, and let's use that old shop-worn thing that they use called a flashback. Why not? And let's have a chance for Viggo Mortensen to be on stage and bring Liv Tyler back.
Oh,
so you can see them in the glory of the early Fourth Age of Gondor after the destruction of the ring. And then we go way back in time, and Aragorn sitting his children down around the campfire and saying, I'm going to pull out my guitar and start telling you some stories about my youth. Let's do that.
Yes.
Let's have some Viggo Mortensen, please. Let's do it. But
I would be down.
Don't make him look like, like all CG'd to look like he's 19 or something. Gosh.
All right.
Signing
So
off?
yeah,
No,
I was about to say, Cliff, do you know what time it is? It's time to say goodbye.
I don't want to say goodbye.
I don't want to say goodbye either. It's the hardest part of the show.
Good night, sweetheart.
Well, it's time to go.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Bum, 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 bum.
I hate to leave you, but I really must say good night.
Good night,
sweetheart. Good night.
And we just got pulled off of YouTube archives for song licensing, breakdown, BS, whatever. We love you guys.
Nobody knew what song that was.
Thank
We
you.
sang it horribly. It was fine.
You're the best. I'll sing with you anytime. Ladies and gentlemen, Chelsea Schwartz.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cliff.
Follow Chelsea online at Uncool Rockstar.
And follow Cliff at QuickBeam2000.
That's right, online QuickBeam2000, and all of our social media platforms for the OneRing.net are usually found as the One Ring Net. Good night, sweet dreams to everybody. Buenas noches y buena suerte.
And thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We love you.
That's awesome. We love you. I love you.
It's a love fest.
Bye. Y'all be good to yourselves now. See you next week.
Sweet dreams.